Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about all of my favorite books of 2017. I have to say, my list of favorite books is actually shorter than my list of least favorite books of 2017, so that's kind of sad. I really noticed that I have read less books I actually enjoyed this past year, even though that was one of my 2017 resolutions. Apparently I need to be even pickier with the books I read because I haven't really been enjoying them that much. Having said that, I did discover some books I really liked that have become favorites in the past year, so let's talk about those for a minute. The first book I want to talk about, and the one book that is my absolute favorite of the entire year, is The Names They Gave Us by Emery. This is a YA contemporary standalone about a girl that has to deal with her mom having cancer once again. She had been in remission, but she got her cancer back, and then our main character, this girl, gets sent to this camp for troubled kids as a camp counselor, and she has to get along and make friends while being in this summer camp, and her mom having to deal with cancer, being on the other side of the lake. She used to go to another camp that her father was running, a Catholic camp, because her father is a priest, which also a very unique aspect in this book, that our main character is actually religious and questions her beliefs multiple times throughout this book. I don't see that a lot in books, or YA books specifically. That might be just the books I'm reading, but I think it's definitely YA as a genre. So I really enjoyed reading a book that wasn't trying to pressure you into believing in God and trying to pressure you to have the same beliefs as the main character, but really showing the main character and her beliefs and her questioning those beliefs because her mom got cancer and she thinks it's incredibly unfair, which it is. Emery Lords has written When We Collided, which I absolutely loved as well. She brings this everyday problem for some people to light. Like in When We Collided, she talks about bipolar disorder, which she suffers from herself. And in When We Collided, she talks about someone having cancer, which is obviously a huge problem in the real world today as well, and not just in this fictional world. And aside from that, there are also other troubled teens in this book who deal with their own problems. There's also a very diverse book. There's a gay character in this, there is a transgender character in this, there is an implied romance between this transgender character and another character in the book, and it's so heartwarming to read about that, and just all of these different people from different ethnicities, different sexualities, different genders. I really loved it, and how Emery Lord managed to incorporate these diverse elements without putting all of the emphasis on those elements. The second book is one I think I read back in January of 2017, and that's the second book in the Frontlines trilogy by Michael Grant. It's called Silver Stars. It has this absolutely amazing yellow orangey cover. This is a World War II retelling, and it follows three girls. They are all three drafted into the military. One is a spy, one is a nurse, and another one is actually on the front lines, and you follow all of their perspectives and sometimes crossing each other's paths throughout this adventure, but not a lot actually, not in the first two books. The third book is yet to come out in 2018 and I cannot wait for it. But this is a book that really made me think, really made me look at the motivations these girls have and the things they experience. They all have such different experiences because one is a Jewish character, one is black, and one is white and privileged. It's so weird to actually see everything come to light and how they get treated so differently even in the military while they are all fighting for their home country, which is for all of them North America. The third book I want to talk about is the second book in the Wolf by Wolf duology, Blood for Blood by Graudin. I finished this entire duology. I even finished the in-between novella between Wolf by Wolf and Blood for Blood, and this follows also actually World War II. It follows Yael, who's our main character. She's a skin shifter. She can change into anyone she wants. It's her goal to win this motorcycle race herself as this girl and kill Hitler. That's the main goal. That's what the first book is about. And it explores Yael's motivations and all of the people that support her and don't support her. And Yael as Adele, this girl she is disguised as, and interacting with all of these characters that did know Adele but don't know that Yael is currently Adele. So our main character is interacting with Luca, who is Adele's ex, and then there is also Felix, who is Adele's brother, who is also actually participating in this motorcycle race, which definitely complicates things. It's really funny at some points to see how Yael's trying to manage everything, and it's not quite working out as well as she likes to sometimes, but eventually you see that she comes to care about these characters, and it's so heartwarming in a way to see how she comes to care for these characters and tries to save their lives, even though they don't know who she actually is. I read Wolf by Wolf last year, I read Blood for Blood this year, and Blood for Blood was a great ending to this series. I definitely made Wolf by Wolf one of my favourite duologies, if not series, of all time. I will definitely reread this series. I love it so much, and the second book broke my heart. I still cannot believe that a thing that happened in there actually happened, but it is so realistic, and I love Ryan Graudin and the series for it. I cannot just film this video and not talk about A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas, which is the third and final book in the first trilogy in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. This series, I didn't really like the first book, didn't do anything for me. A Court of Mist and Fury, the second book, really tugged on my heartstrings. One of my favourite books of last year, and then this book made such an emotional ending to a trilogy. I didn't love it as much as the second book, but I still care so much for all of these characters and what happens to them, and I really like the whole battle ending. And it is a huge book, but I definitely feel like there was a lot of payoff in the end, and I cannot wait for more books in this series and see how all of these characters are doing and new storylines and just a lot of fun things happening. Favor and resent. Favor and resent forever. A book that really surprised me was Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. I haven't read anything by Claudia Gray before, but Defy the Stars is actually her first book in a new series. So I read this one. It's a sci-fi, just like her other series, I believe. I haven't read that one, but I believe it's the Firebird trilogy, and it's about time traveling. This one is not about time traveling, but it's about a girl and a robot who are from opposite sides of the wall, and they connect. It takes a lot of this book for them to actually develop a friendship/romance. But they are very distrustful towards each other, which is logical because they are from opposite sides of the wall. This girl is from this planet called Genesis, and she is a fighter pilot, and then there is this robot who has been locked up for, I believe, 30 years in this spaceship. He has been left behind by his creator, and then this girl finds him in the spaceship, and they're very distrustful toward each other, but eventually they do develop a friendship, and it's very sweet to look at them eventually becoming more trustful toward each other and becoming more friendly, because they have to do this adventure together. But the one thing here is that Abel, the robot, has to obey this girl's orders. He has to obey the highest ranked person in the room, basically. I don't really know how that works. He had to obey his creator in the first place because he was his creator, he was the highest ranked person, but then this girl from Genesis meets Abel, and he hasn't seen anyone in 30 years, his creator has been gone, he doesn't know if his creator died or anything, but there's only this girl and he has to obey everything she says, which makes it very hard because he doesn't trust her, but he has to do what she says. Which makes a very weird dynamic, but also very comical at times. The last book I want to talk about is Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. This is the first book in the Three Dark Crowns series. It's not a trilogy anymore. I believe it's a 5-book series now. I thought it was a trilogy at first anyway. I'm currently still reading One Dark Throne, which I've been reading since December. Oops. But I really like this one, and I definitely want to get to the second book after reading the first book because this book ended on a cliffhanger and I need to know what happened. My boyfriend gave me the second book and I immediately continued on with it, but then I went to Paris and school happened, things happened, life happened basically, and I didn't have time to really continue on with the second book. But this first book is definitely so worth it. I've heard that the second book is even better, but this book, really start this series. It's so cool. It's a fantasy series about 3 girls who have to fight each other to the death for one of them to become queen. They're actually triplets, but they've been separated when they were younger. So they are living in these different parts of this continent, and they eventually, when they become 16 years old, have to fight each other to the death for one of them to become queen. This is a setup book. No one is going to become queen in this book. I'm in the second book. No one has become queen yet, you know, that kind of thing. But there is a lot of action. There's a lot of world building in this, but there's also a lot of action and a lot of revelations and character development mostly. But I really like all of these girls in this book. I think my favorite in this book was actually Arsinoe, who has a scarred face and she has to wear a mask because of that, which makes her quite unique and not the general pretty girl trope, which usually goes for princesses. Then there is Mirabella, who I think I like the least because she is the average princess girl who is very pretty. And then there's Catherine. And Catherine is different. She's a very quiet, timid girl. I like her character development the most, I think. She's my favorite character in the second book right now, but not in the first book yet. I think she's my second favorite character, but after Arsenal, the characters in this book definitely make it the best thing it could be. And I would really recommend it not for the fighting aspect in this book, because there is not a lot of fighting, that's just the way it is, it's just a setup book, but for the characters, because it's really worth reading about their motivations and the motivations of all these people surrounding them, because the people surrounding them want their princess to win, or their queen. They're actually queens already, but they want their queen to win, and you really see the surrounding characters and them caring for their queen. And it's very sad because, you know, eventually one of them has to die. Or maybe not. That's the question. I'm really not sure, like, what's going to happen at this point. But I love this book. Would definitely recommend it. So these were all of my favorite books of 2017. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what you think about them. Or what were your favorite books in 2017? I would love to know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!